Thank you very much, Enrique. Then I would like to pass to the other question. Actually, that's something also Ben was saying about the demand and availability of products. So the biggest economies concerns are the weakness in demand and availability of raw materials. Now availability in China, as Ben was saying, is slowly getting to normal. So the key concern is how to get demand back to the pre-crisis levels. How and when do you think this will happen? I know it's a difficult question, but what do you see from your side? This question goes to Buki and to Rotra. Can we start with Chef?
Okay, well, what we think is that normally a country can boost, of course, the demand by governmental projects, by large infrastructural projects like airports, roads, where the government already can invest and put a lot of people to work. A lot of people to work means more money so they can spend. However, the current projects in Mexico, well, we all know the construction of a second airport and the Maya train especially. It's difficult to incentivize or to make money out of a Maya train on a commercial side, but this yet has to be seen. Lower interest rates, well, that's what a government can do. This has been the game, of course, for a long time in Europe, actually leading to negative interest rates even before the Corona crisis. Mexico has done this recently, lowering well, 5 points the interest rates. This should lead to more consumption, but of course, what you will see at the other side is that actually the the consumers, they will not start spending now, because typical behavior is that they will start saving, and this will mean there will be less circulation of money, and this will affect all the industries. So what the government should do is to counter, of course, and to prevent mass layoff, as we have seen already in the US. The unemployment applications jumped till at least 7 million somewhere last week. So definitely Mexico in the formal industry, because more or less half of the population is not even formally employed, we will see that there will be layoffs, where there used to be certain help for people like the Afore, which could be used to bridge a couple of months of not having money. That currently has been blocked. So even people who are fired cannot even use the Afore anymore in Mexico. Well, as we all know, there is no help, so that will be a little bit of a problem. If you look at international operating companies, I think at the end of the day, especially if you're a local company operating here in Mexico versus competing versus an international operating company, it will become more and more difficult. Why? Well, it's very simple. If I have to compete with a company who is operating out of Holland, for instance, if you have a loss of 20% of turnover, the government jumps in and takes over 90% of your expenses on human resources. And over here, if we lose 20%, well, you lost 20%, and you have to see how you survive. So, and again, what I just also mentioned, what else can the government to boost the demand? Of course, to quickly counteract the V trend, which is currently existing, you know. So the bigger the impact, normally other countries we have seen, the bigger the help from the governments. That's why also the European community has freed up a big plan of 750 billion to help the economy boost. These funds, compared with the 2008 crisis, were far more quicker released. Also in the US, I don't know exactly how many trillion has been released. That is the way to counter the big impact. Of course, we will see the absence of raw materials. This will affect, as we just heard from other speakers. The recovery will be very erratic. This will mean go up, again down, go up, go down. Of course, the trend line will still go up, but each time you will see hiccups in the supply chain. Why? Because there's lack of equipment, but even more important, there's a lack of cash. I think most of the companies, it's not if they are profitable or not profitable on the fiscal side. Most of them, they are fighting with liquidity problems. And if they have, well, if that continues, well, that's the biggest threat, I think, for the flow of raw materials. And most of the importers, and that's my last comment on this topic, is they don't know actually who are their actual suppliers, because at the end of the day, it's a pyramid. So the final product exists out of several components. So therefore you have several suppliers. So if you think you are sourcing a product, it could be that your whole supply chain is affected because one of the crucial parts to make the end product is not available. So yeah, these are, I think, in general lines, what basically will happen, you know, on a big macro scale, but also on the raw material side.
Great, thank you very much, Jeff. There's a question that I will try to put it in the next question. Probably this is about Incoterms, so we will answer that question later. Enrique, can you please help us with also this question?
Sure. Well, it's difficult, as you mentioned now previously, the question to define a period when demand will be back to pre-crisis levels, because we know so far that until now China is slowly getting back to normal, but all regions are still just starting contingency actions. For instance, large container volumes as a result of reopening in China after their extended shutdown are expected to arrive in North America over the next month. And this surely will cause strain and pressure on storage capacities, given to the inability to move volume out of these storages to retail stores or factories that are closed as the result of the shutdown in North America now. For example, also shipping line 1, Ocean Network Express, the complete name, are saying that big retailers now are negotiating up to 30% more space on ships over the next 3 months. So once major industries are reopened after shutdown, we will face a congestion or lack of space for their shipments. So I think for now, for shippers or suppliers, it is very important to be close contact with their buyers or clients in order to take action. I think it's important to plan their supply chain requirements properly in order to avoid delayed shipments and looking to get demand back to pre-crisis levels. No? So there's some recommendations. I found something important from McKinsey company of a complete short-term response and some actions that could be taken into account. For example, to create transparency on multi-tier supply chains, establishing a list of critical components, determining the origin of supply, and identifying alternative sources. No, I think this is related. Of Jeff also commented about to check the source of supplies. No. Also, to estimate available inventory along the value chain, including the spare parts and after-sales stock, for use as a bridge to keep production running and enable delivery to customers. Identify and secure logistics capacity, estimating capacity and accelerating where possible, and being flexible on transportation mode when required. If it has to change from air freight to sea freight to air freight, FCL, LCL, etc. Also manage cash and net working capital by running a stress test in order to understand where supply chain issues will start to cause financial impact. So I think mainly is by now to take action, especially to plan and to be in close contact with all the parts involved in the supply chain areas.